welcome again to another isolation edition of the CJ podcast. My name's Sam Hall. I'm back with my co-host Nick Daines once again.
Push.
And today we've got a pioneer of Welsh Jiu Jitsu, head coach of Celtic Pride MMA, Greg Creel. How are you doing, Greg?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you very much for having me on, guys.
Yeah, awesome.
Nice to see you, bro.
Yeah, nice to see you. How you been getting on during this coronavirus, this lockdown?
It's been all right, to be honest. I'm so busy. The first couple of weeks was kind of like a little bit of a break. I kind of enjoyed it in a weird way. It was like I didn't have to think about doing anything. I didn't have to lesson plan. I didn't have to do nothing at all. So it was kind of like, this is quite nice. And then after the 3-week mark, then I was a bit of itchy feet. And then you start to think, oh, when is this going to be over? So I can just go and train and. You know, more for the social aspect as well. You know, you miss a lot of the friends that, like, most of my friends are in Jiu Jitsu now. So you do miss that part of it as well. And you can't see no one. And yeah, that's a little bit difficult. But, you know, we'll get there one day, I think.
Yeah, it is tough, isn't it? Like, I was exactly the same. I was like, oh, it's nice. It's a nice welcome break for a little while. And then all of a sudden it kind of hits you like, oh, yeah, now I'm really missing training, not being able to get in there and not do anything.
And doing the same things every day as well is quite monotonous. You know, you get up in the morning, you think, right, okay, I'll go for a run. Yeah. And then, there's only so many miles you can run in a week before you get bored of that. Then you get on the bike and then I start hiking. But the one thing I've been a little bit more consistent with is like yoga, like stretching and doing yoga and going for like real, like good long walks and stuff like that, you know, just to get out and kill some hours in a day more than anything, you know, because it's just in the house all day, every day is boring. I'm playing loads of Call of Duty.
Those things are dangerous, mate. Computer games, if I sit down on them, I'm there for hours. So I try my very hardest not to do it.
We've given myself. Yeah, me and a couple of jiu-jitsu boys have given ourselves like a time frame. So we say, right, we'll meet at 7:00. And then we're off by like 9:30, and that's our time frame. So it's not too bad. Like, it's okay. You get a couple of games in, have a rage, and I'm done. I'm all right for the day. I'm terrible as well.
It's quite like doing jiu-jitsu though, to like replicate outside, you know, the running and the bike and everything like that. None of it's the same. None of it's enough.
No, it's not jiu-jitsu, is it?
No, it's not.
That's the problem. It's not jiu-jitsu. It's difficult to replicate. Like you said, everyone who's got like a home gym as well, they've only got a limited amount of weights you can lift. You can't go to like a gym. So like I normally hit the gym at like 5 a.m. before I go to work. But I've got nothing.
Who are you, Jocko Willink? What time do you go to
bed? I leave to be honest with you, my day's like quite hectic, you know. But I'd rather, like, I'm one of those guys who likes to be busy. Like if I sit down, I'm done, you know. So I like to kind of keep on the go. So like I normally go to the gym, like I said, early in the morning, so to get out of the way, and then I got plenty of rest then before I get to jiu-jitsu in the evenings. But because obviously with all this going on, we've only got a limited amount of stuff that you can use in the house. So like I've got like a little kettlebell, but it's just not enough, you know. It's not enough. And then sometimes you'd think, isn't any point in doing it, you know, because you're not fulfilling what you really used to doing, you know. So it's quite difficult. And like you said, nothing's like jiu-jitsu, so it's really difficult to replicate in any sort of exercise, I should imagine. Solo drills are good, but then, you know,
there's only so much.
To what degree, you know, there's only so much you can do. So yeah, it's quite difficult.
I'm exactly the same. I think kind of with the gym as well, it's nice going somewhere for a purpose, having something for there, because once you're there, even if you don't feel like it, once you've dragged yourself there, you're there then, so you might as well do something. But at home, there's so many distractions. It's so easy. Like, I'll just do it a little bit later because it's here. I'll just do it later. I'll just do it later. So it's I've found like just try and get it done and then it's done.
You got like 16 hours in the day to kill as well, haven't you, when you wake up? You know what I mean? So it's like I'll leave till 2:00, and then 2 becomes 4, and then I'm on the PlayStation and at 7. I have been quite consistent. It's not too bad. It's not too bad.
Good. Yeah. Are you in the gym at the moment? I see.
I am. Yeah, I'm in the gym, and the reason I'm in the gym is because I set the computer up here because I've moved house.
Right.
So I'm in between two houses at the moment, so I thought, right, set everything up here because I do a little podcast myself as well with a couple of the boys.
What's
So I
that
set
called?
everything here.
Have a little shout out.
Is the Celtic Pride podcast. So basically what we ended up doing was doing like fight breakdowns and stuff. So getting like more so MMA fighters on and kind of going through their thoughts process leading up to a fight, the fight itself, and then after the fight.
Yeah, nice.
We've had a good couple of guys on. We've had Mason on. We've had Nad Narmani on. James Thompson was a good one that we had on the other day.
Wicked.
That was really good. Yeah, he was really, really good, to be honest. We could have went on for hours and hours.
Oh,
yeah.
really?
Watched a bit of it after Jamie mentioned it the other day.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
He seems to have a he speaks very well about like, you know, his experience and stuff, doesn't he? And
yeah, he's really, to be honest, it's refreshing to hear an MMA fighter because who's like so open and honest, because they don't build a persona, but I think they're forced into a persona where they've got to kind of be the tough guy and nothing's ever like going to phase them. Do you know what I mean? But I think with James, because he's in like the twilights of his career, he's kind of really open and honest about how his career went. And not just the mental aspect, but some of the mental aspects he spoke about as well, which was really good, you know? So, yeah, I really enjoyed that one as well. It was good.
Yeah, I find that. Because you train, obviously, I think those guys you had on your podcast, but you train MMA fighters as well.
Yeah,
How do you find that differs between your jiu-jitsu coaching to teaching the MMA fighters?
So basically what I ended up doing like early on when I started coaching was I never set out to be an MMA coach because I think it's quite difficult to have the answers to everything, you know. Yeah. So when I set out to kind of be an MMA coach in a sense and have guys who would fight MMA, I'd always push them to seek other coaches to supplement their game as well. So basically my main aspect is obviously jiu-jitsu. So I take care of the jiu-jitsu for MMA, you know.
Yeah.
And then I've got guys then, like, say we take Mason, for instance, who's obviously the Cage Warriors lightweight champion now.
Yeah.
He's got like 3 different coaches. So we got Craig Ewers, who is judo coach back in the day, fought on Polaris multiple times. Really, really good guy, but a really good wrestler as well. And then we've got Lyndon, who does his boxing, and then myself, who I obviously kind of does his jiu-jitsu, but also I do like a lot of his game planning for the fights as well.
Right.
So we supplemented really good. And then with the local guys that we got training in the academy as well, like the up-and-coming MMA guys, we've got a really good Thai boxing coach, Stephen Gifford. Jamie helps as well with some coaching as well with the jiu-jitsu. And then I obviously help mostly with the jiu-jitsu as well for the MMA. So I think it's like back in the day, you didn't have a choice but to have like one MMA coach and they had to be responsible for the answers for everything, you know. But these days, I think there's an abundance of coaches out there that you can kind of resource and pull different ideas from as well, you know what I mean? So that's kind of how I do it, you know?
Yeah, so you've got like quite a good network of people. So how did you get that? How did you build that network? Did you kind of reach out to them and say, I've got this guy, or did they reach out to you and say, I've got a guy?
I think it's about being open as a coach, I think, because I'm like, one of my biggest things is like, if you don't know the answer, steal it. You know, if you don't know the answer to something, steal it from someone else, because someone's got the answer. It's just you're willing to go out and have a look. Now, I'm a jiu-jitsu coach. It would be irresponsible myself to kind of say that I'm going to be a striking coach tomorrow. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not.
Yeah.
I can give you theories of how, like, transitions, but for me then not to look to my left and say like, oh, here's a guy who's been in Thai boxing for 20 years. He's going to know a lot more than me. So I will push my guys in that direction. And then obviously they're going to gain a lot more knowledge there. And then them guys who want to do Thai boxing, who are more pro Thai boxing, wants to do more MMA, them guys will push them towards me. And then you just bounce off ideas, you know. And I think it's just the best way to do it, because a lot of guys are kind of, they want to keep a little network of their guys and they want to keep everyone together. But I think that's quite selfish in a way, you know. You've got to broaden your horizons a little bit.
You think it's like a bit of an ego thing where they want the limelight for their guy, for themselves.
Yeah. Like
look at our club and what we can do.
It's not what we can do. It's a lot of the times it's look at my club and look what I can do. You know, that's what a lot of it is. Yeah. You know, but everyone's different. Everyone's got their own theories, and to be honest with you, there's some really successful guys out there who take the mantle and do it themselves, and I respect that as well. But everyone's just got a different way of coaching and a different theory behind how they want it to look as well. You know, so that's just the way I do it, and it kind of works. It works really well, to be honest.
Yeah. So you did. when you coach people, is it like, because we were talking to Jamie the other day, and he was saying how, you know, sometimes you coach him differently, like you'll praise some guys and then Jamie will be quite hard with. But like, that's kind of coaching the individual, right? So how do you manage that with, you know, big classes such as, you know, jiu-jitsu? I mean, you must have how many people in a class? Quite a few, I'd imagine. So,
yeah, we go around, like the average is around about 35 guys in a class now. Where we
that's
live,
a big class.
yeah, that's pretty, like that's pretty busy, you know, for where we live. Like we live in a small valley, you know, and there's not a lot here, so we've had to really like push really hard to get the students in.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side of that is they haven't got a lot to choose from when they're in the valleys. They got football, rugby, and then fight. You know, that's basically it. Some people go down the road of football and rugby and really successful, and some guys then who are lost and they're not sure what to do, they come and do jiu-jitsu, you know, or MMA, Thai boxing, whatever.
Yeah.
The way I go about it is that, like, as soon as I walk in a class, I've got a lesson plan what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
I do it like monthly or every 2 weeks. They kind of changes, but we got like 3-4 classes a week in just straight jiu-jitsu, so you get a lot of time if you're doing it every 2 weeks. I come in and I basically read the room, you know. So like, say for instance we're doing like De La Riva guard, you know, and I come in and I've got a bunch of blue belts, some white belts, 1 or 2 purple belts, and then a couple of black belts. You can kind of vary it a little bit, but then if you look and you've got a lot of beginners and a lot of white belts, you need to really break it down. So I think it's about reading the room and kind of knowing what people want from their jiu-jitsu as well. You know, some people need what I call a bit of a kick up the ass. You know, you know they can do it. You know full well they can do it, but you can't be too hard on them because then you'll just get that pushback. You know, so it's difficult. It is a difficult skill to kind of get. But once you start to read people and you get to know them, then you know you can be hard on them. Like Jamie, I can be hard on him, and sometimes he takes offense to it, sometimes he doesn't. But he knows is the best. Like I got his best interest in that. I'm not doing it to be a dickhead. You know what I mean? I'm doing it to make him better at a certain position. You know.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I do lose it a little bit in class as well, you know. It's with some guys, like I heard Jamie say the other one on your podcast, actually, like I can be like, what are you doing to him? And then turn around and go, that's really good, well done, you know. But that's just the way I am. That's just me, you know. And I think you, like I said, you've got to read the room. You've got to read the guy that you were coaching as well. And not just that, you've got some guys who've worked 8 hours. They come to jiu-jitsu and they want to purely enjoy it. You know, they just want to purely enjoy it. And it's the same for the kids as well. They've been in school for like 6 hours. They don't want to come here and have another teacher shouting at them and disciplining them. They want to have fun and they want to enjoy it. And that's kind of how I treat it. But then for the guys who want to take it more serious, then it's kind of their job and responsibility then to kind of, you know. Yeah.
So your responsibility then becomes being on their back and making sure that they get the work done.
Yeah. And you know, like you kind of find out then if they're kind of really serious about it, because if they do give that pushback, then you just lay off and say, right, okay, he's not ready for this, or you know, he's not really serious about it. But then if you get that, okay, yeah, no worries, I'll get it done. You know that they're super serious about it. Yeah. And then that's when then you think, right, I've got this guy now, I can keep pushing a little bit more, you know. But it's got to be subtle. It can't just be like overnight. You can't just change your coaching philosophy overnight and just say, right, I'm just going to start being hard on everyone. It doesn't work, you know. But it's a subtle thing. Yeah.
Do then, Greg, like if people, you know, how do you kind of distinguish the guys that are like, you know, even if we just limit it to like the jiu-jitsu side and like they're going to want to start going to do some competitions and things like that, and then you think, I don't know, yeah, this person seems to be, you know, do they come and say, look, I want to take it more seriously, what should I do? Or do you kind of recognize something and just kind of push them a bit harder and just without them necessarily knowing?
I think I have a chat with them straight away. I think first of all, you've got to have a chat with them. You've got to know what their goals are, because then there's no blurred lines at all between like you and them. If subconsciously I look at someone and think, oh, this guy's going to be really good, and then I start pushing them and they are unaware of it, they might think that I'm doing it just to be a bit of a dickhead. But if they're aware of it and they understand and we've had the conversation, then you can always fall back on that and say, look, we had the conversation. You understand what I want from you. You understand what you want from yourself. In that respect, then there's no blurred lines. you know, you can always fall back on that conversation you've had. But if you've never had that conversation with someone, you can never fall back on it. So that's where the relationship becomes a little bit ropey then, you know, as a coach and someone who wants to take their jiu-jitsu or MMA career more seriously.
That's a really good point, actually, because if they don't set themselves a goal, they might, like you said, they might be quite really talented, but just there for a bit of fun. So think they can be really good. Let's push them.
They might not even realise
they might not realise. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. No. Exactly. Yeah. And there's been a bunch of guys that I've had in the past and who's been like super like athletically talented, you know, and they could go and do cricket tomorrow and they would be like amazing at cricket, you know, that guy.
Yeah.
But I've had the conversation with them like, no, I just enjoy it. So then I'll back off and say, right, that's cool. You know, they'll get my full attention. Don't get me wrong. They'll get the kind of full attention as like say someone like Jamie or Mason and these guys, but it'll be in a different way, you know, it'll be in a different light, you know, because it's difficult because like you've got to have those, like when someone like a competitive person makes a mistake, they're going to beat themselves up so bad. You could put your arm around them and say, you know, it's okay, mate, don't worry about it, you know, but I'm not that guy. I'll face it and say, look, yeah, you made a mistake, you know, it wasn't good enough, but we can fix it. It's fine. We can fix it, you know. So, but you willing to put the time in to fix it? That's the issue. But then the onus is always on them, you know. It's not on me because regardless if anyone turns up the class, I'm still on the mats ready to teach. These guys have got to turn up themselves and put themselves there, you know. So the onus has always got to be on the competitor or the guy who wants to take it more serious, you know.
Yeah, it's brilliant. That's a really good coaching philosophy. I love that.
It's interesting about recognizing and then like discussing with the student, like one-on-one, what do you want to go from it? Because I think like sometimes there's jiu-jitsu clubs and classes and whatnot. It can be just learning jiu-jitsu, and you know and it can be much more focused on people can be really, really good, you know, and progress through belts and all the rest of it, do a few competitions, but there's a big difference between that and then someone like yourself recognizing something and say, well, do you want to do this? Do you want to do something else and more competitive than you're doing now? Is this what you want to do going forward? That's pretty interesting because it's a recognition of skill and ability going, you know, to push on, and you've proven it. You've got these guys that are doing stuff. You know what I mean? Obviously
the thing is with that as well, then once you've had that conversation then, and you know you've kind of you've got it out there and you know what you expect from each other, if you financially support someone then you know it's worth it, you know what I mean? So like say for instance someone wants to do a competition, they can't afford it, you know, there's a lot of that around where we are. They, you know, even if it's petrol money, you know, if someone wants to go and do, I know, the British Open or something, they got no petrol put in their car, they can't afford the hotel, I'll pay it. I will pay it. But then if you've already had that conversation, you know, you're going to trust yourself to give the guy the money and know he's going to give you a full all. But if you haven't never had that conversation, you're kind of always in the back of your head, I don't know whether, you know, I'm not sure whether I should have done that, you know what I mean? So, and that comes from being let down a couple of times as a coach, you know, but if you don't do it, you ain't going to learn. And that's as a coach myself, I've done it a couple of times and I've learned by the mistake, you know, but then I've done it and the rewards have been massive, you know, so that's why I have the conversation as well, you know, with the guys, you know.
Yeah. Do you think, like, do you get sometimes people kind of change their mind? They go, yeah, I'll definitely want to do this. And then they really
everyone says yeah.
And then they go, actually, this isn't for me.
But everyone says yeah in the beginning because it's, you know, is the dream, innit?
Yeah. For
a lot of guys, it's a dream to go full-time and do jiu-jitsu. Not just that, like, even if they holding a job down and training twice a day, I consider that a full-time jiu-jitsu practitioner as well, because unless you've got your own academy and you're truly doing it full-time, you know, teaching every day, that's full-time, you know. Like Jamie teaches a couple of classes a week, but, you know, he doesn't work. Jiu-jitsu is his earning, you know. But I've got guys as well who train twice a day. They're here every night in the academy, so and they work, so I consider that kind of full-time as well.
Yeah, definitely. It's kind of like it's like what's that analogy with the iceberg poking out the top? No one really sees what's underneath the surface, do they?
Yeah.
And hard work goes in. They only see the results at the end. So it's funny how people like perceive that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's hard, isn't it? You know, because jiu-jitsu is so like it's so new at the same time. There's no support from anything. So like, if you become good at say boxing and you get into the amateur ranks and you start to get a little bit of funding behind you, and you know you can represent your country and stuff like that. You know, it's same in like kind of taekwondo and all those. You get a little bit of fun. So it's more of a like a you can see the progression there in jiu-jitsu. You've got to do it all yourself. So you've got to rely on coaches to help you, or your parents, or you know your girlfriends, wives, whatever, to kind of support you a little bit as well financially, but also just that support to say you can do it. You know, so you need like positive people around you like that as well.
It's funny you say that about like funding and you get support, because we talked to an amateur MMA fighter, Millie Hawken, the other week, and she competed at Bahrain in the World MMA Championships, and we had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah, it's IMAF. Yeah, IMAF in there.
Yeah.
So IMAF, they got like an amateur thing that they done one in Rome recently, I think, and we've got a guy who's selected, Owain as well, who's selected to go out for the next one when all this is over. I think he's been selected for the Welsh squad to go out to the next one.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah,
that's great.
It looks unbelievable. Apparently, is it the prince or whoever it is that sort of backs it over there? Like, so it's always taking place in this unbelievable stadium, and the camera. Do you know what I mean? It looks like, and it's like an amateur event, but it just looks ridiculous.
I think they run it live as well on like some platforms. I'm not sure where they run it to, but yeah, they run it live like a subscription thing. I think it's on the IMAF website actually. And you can watch it. I think they got like 3 cages set up, and they run it like a competition. And there's a boy from Wales who won it, Jack Shaw. You heard of Jack Shaw? He's just been signed to UFC now as well. He won it as well. And he lives in Ampthill area. He won it the 1 year.
Amazing. Yeah, he's in the UFC now, Jack Shaw, isn't he?
Jack's in the UFC. Yeah. He's an Ampthill area boy as well.
Yeah. So talk about that. Like, what made you start? Because for you, like quite a well-known, you've been training for a long time, been coaching for a long time. What made you start up your academy where you are now? Because it must have been tempting to move to like a city or something like that to get more football.
Well, I'm Welsh through and through, and I'm a Valley boy. That's what we just say. We're a Valley boy, so we kind of keep things close, you know. And the idea behind it, basically, I was training in Bristol,
right?
And so I was doing like 100-mile trips 4 times a week. 3 times a week, and just going back and forth Bristol.
Was that your closest academy, or was that just where you wanted to train?
It was kind of the closest, best academy, if you know what I mean. It's like when I first started, I started training with just some friends in a local taekwondo gym, just with some mats down, and just having a wrestle. I didn't even know what it was, basically. So I'd done that for like 6 weeks, and then I went to Swansea down in Chris Rees Academy for a couple of months. Because that was Chris was a Pearl back then, so that was like the closest one to me. And then all of a sudden, Carlos Limos, 2-time world champ, he opened up in Bristol, and there's the same distance between like Chris Rees Academy and Swansea Way, and to go to Bristol for us because we kind of in the middle. So we went down there for a couple of months, and then Pedro Besser opened up. And obviously, like we done a lot of research on like the OTT team, all the guys that come through. So he's like, let's go and train with this guy now. But we was like super naive as well. You know what I mean? We was just like, we just wanted to train and get better at jiu-jitsu. We didn't. My one friend was just the same thing. He was like he was worse than me. You know, he was quite harsh, and he was like, no one's my friend. I just want to train. That was his thing. I'm going here because I want to train. So we would hop around and have a look at different places. But when we went to Pedro's then, it was kind of like, right, this is where we want to train, you know? And Pedro had that conversation after the first session. He was like, look, you guys, if you want to train here, you train here, and that's it, you know? Right, so like that. We was like, cool, no worries. If that's how you do it, we're going to train here. Yeah. And that's where we stayed. So then, because I was traveling back and forth so much, I thought, I wonder if I can get some friends to train with me. So I just kind of, we had a pub, and he was upstairs in a pub, and the owner wanted to train jiu-jitsu as well. So he bought pile mats, and he was like, right, just come up here and we'll just train. And then all of a sudden then it just went from like 2 guys, 4 guys, 8 guys, 16 guys. And it was like, fucking hell, this is getting quite quite serious, you know.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster, fighting in the back room or upstairs.
It was horrible because we had 2 classes a week just doing jiu-jitsu, and it was in between me traveling back and forth Bristol, and we'd go in there on a Saturday morning to lay the mats, and they'd have like a 60th birthday party the night before, so we'd have to sweep up all the 60th birthday confetti and stuff, hoover it all up, all the broken glass and everything, lay the mats down, and then train jiu-jitsu, and then put it away, lay all the tables back out for the afternoon. So that's how we kind of got started.
They got full-time cleaners in there at the same time.
The owner was like, well, if you want to train jiu-jitsu, you got to clean up, like, so. So that's what we done. But that's how we got started. That's basically how we.
I think that's a kind of it's pretty similar to like our head coach Laurie. Like he were training Tunbridge at the Carlsons where Wilson would come down, or from London, Simon and Dickie and that kind of thing, and Dave Broughton over there, and then started his own thing 2 nights a week in the church hall, and we did the same thing: get the mats out, wipe them down, lay them out, do all that stuff, put them away again, all the rest of it, and then try and go up to Tunbridge to get the other days in between. And then I think it's probably quite a natural progression, isn't it? That you want to get other training in, and then you need other bodies to practice on and to hone the technique, and and I think because similarly, Laurie's been teaching from like blue belt, so his technique of teaching's got really good over a long period of time. Like Jamie was saying, he felt like he was really lucky to be able to teach early on in his jiu-jitsu career, and because I think teaching and showing other people gives you such an advantage in your own technique and like honing it that just makes you better and better and better showing someone else, and them asking you questions because you don't remember what you do sometimes, or what things you need to impart to other people to do the technique, and then someone asks you something like, oh yeah, I forgot that bit. So this is
you can get caught out as a coach, you know what I mean, and you've got to be quite confident in your coaching as well, because the one thing I'm massive on is like once a week on a Friday evening, that is like our nogi, and we get a good couple of numbers in for the nogi, but it's like hard training. And then after that, then we sit down and I ask, let's say, any questions you got on anything at all. And, I could be asked a question, and I'd be like, I don't know, I'm not sure, but come back next week and I'll have the answer. Do you know what I mean? Is that kind of thing, but you got to be honest, like, as well. But like, once you open it out that people are asking you questions, you've got to be really confident in making sure that your technique is sound as a coach. Otherwise you will get found out, quite easy. It's doing your research is key, you know what I mean, and also like watching a lot of jiu-jitsu fights as well to see how it's done. That's why I kind of do watch a lot of, like, if we're going to do deep half guard, I watch a lot of Bernardo Faria, just fights, no like techniques, just his fights to see how he's done it. But then you kind of get the feel, and the questions that come after that, then you can kind of flow them a lot easier. And I think as a coach as well, you've got to, I love people asking me questions because it keeps me on my toes, because you can't just teach, it's just robotic, and you can go in and say, we're doing arm bars today, and it's just robotic.
And you don't want people to be like, you don't want people to think you're the guru and know everything. You want to be able to explain why you're doing stuff, because you don't just want people to blindly follow you.
You're not
that works, or you end up being one of those guys from dojo life, don't you? Falling over when people wave their hand in front of your face.
Yeah, so like it's everyone's different. Like you'll have some jiu-jitsu guys that are coaches, say for instance, who are perfectionists and they want it done A, B, and C. You know what I mean? But my way of doing it is like, I'll give you the A, B, and C. And if we're doing a sweep or a pass, if it's the broad outline of it is the same, then I don't really mind too much, because as long as the outcome is the same, if you achieve the sweep and you've adapted it to your body in a different way, it is a sweep, you know what I mean? And that's the way. I've got one guy with me, Liam, his name is, and like, he can never do every technique how I show it, but he ends up doing it in his own little way, and sometimes it's actually better, you know what I mean? Is that because he's adapted it to his body, and it's actually like a lot better. So you've got to be like that as a coach as well, to kind of just say, look, you know, it's difficult because I'm quite like a perfectionist with certain things. So it is difficult to let it go and think that's not quite right, but
yeah,
still achieved what we set out to do, you know? Yeah.
It's a bit like the kids as well, right? So like if you were going up to Liam every time going, no, that's not what I showed you to do, he's going to be like, oh, Jesus Christ.
I'm trying.
Leave me alone. I'm just doing my best. It's like the kids show the kids something and then they're all like flopping around like this and stuff. Like, that's fine. As long as you've got a smile on your face and you're doing sort of vaguely the right kind of thing.
Yeah. The only time I get a little bit like, you know, I will like be a little bit harder on guys in that kind of philosophy is when they kind of don't pay attention to the technical detail of it. You know, so sometimes you'll say, I don't like, if I said to a kid, you know, because kids are your true test of if your technique is going to work or not. They are your true test, you know. So if I say this is a takedown, you know, and I'm doing a single leg, which like some kids can read, they find a single leg quite difficult, you know, because it's just a rugby tackle to them, you know. When you're doing like the, you know, the head and the inside and all this, and you know, you're taking the leg away and you're dropping them down and stuff. If they don't pay attention to the technical detail, they'll just get the leg and they'll just go and just chuck them on the floor. And they're like, well, you told me a takedown's a takedown. I know it's a takedown, but hang on now.
You can't explain that.
Yeah, that's when I get a little bit more frustrated. But if it's kind of like it, you can then over time, you can obviously make it a little bit better. But they got to be willing to like kind of make it look as good as possible, or get the technique as good as possible before then, you know.
Understand like the bare bones of what you're trying to do, and then work in the specifics around that, maybe for them or for yourself or however you want to train. I completely agree with that method. Like, I think having someone know what they're trying to do, even if it doesn't look exactly how you've shown it, as long as they know what they're trying to achieve from that, and then they can make it work for themselves. That's a better way, I think, because there's no way everything that I show is gonna work for Nick, and vice versa. If Nick showed me a technique, it might not work the same for my body type. So it's just
my techniques don't work for athletic.
My friend sent me a video. Reese, who does like a lot of strength and conditioning for the boys, Reese Jones, and he sent me a video a couple of years ago, and it was a video of a woman trying to do a snatch, and the coach was like, she done a snatch, and like to us, technically perfect, you know, but to the coach, it kind of wasn't. So he would say, just do it again, and she would go, boom, do it again. Do it again, do it again. And then this video went on for like 10 minutes of her just trying to get a snatch. And for me, every one of them was like technically perfect. You know, I was like, well, it was brilliant. Like, but then at the end of it, then he sat her down and basically told her, you know, that you've just done 10 minutes of like snatch work. Everyone, like most of them was good, but there was a couple in there wasn't good enough. So like kind of when you go to a competition, that one could be the one that's not good enough. You know, so you were saying you got to do it wrong, do it wrong, do it wrong, do it right. So then he made it go back and do it wrong again. Feel the difference between doing it wrong and doing it right. So then it was weird how he done it. But then when she done it again, even like I thought everyone was technically perfect. I could tell a massive difference between doing it wrong and then doing it right. But I didn't notice it at the start, you know. So I kind of adopted that as well then with guys who were struggling for techniques. So like if you're doing a complicated sweep, and they keep doing it wrong, and then you catch them doing it right, you say, do it right again. And then you say, oh, I got it now, but do it wrong now. Do it how you was doing it before. So they'll feel a massive difference between the two, and they'll go, oh my God, I can't believe I was doing that. And they'll never go back to doing it wrong again, you know? So that video was, it was a good couple of years ago. Reese sent me a video. It's about 4 or 5 years ago. And it's probably changed like a lot of the ways that I kind of teach a lot of guys who get stuck on technical details, you know, like the real technical stuff. Like if you're doing like a berimbolo sweep, you know, where guys can't go upside down and they're getting stuck. And then all of a sudden you watch them do it correct, and you're like, right, you've done it correct. Do it correct again. They'll do it. Now do it wrong as you was doing it, and they're like, I can't. It just makes a massive difference, you know, psychologically as well. Then they can kind of see the two differences, you know, and it is massive for them. Like it gives them a bit of a boost as well. Then
it's that feeling as well, isn't it? Like because you don't like when you take it in from watching what you've shown, and then you go away and try and do it. You kind of know that it's wrong. If you're doing it wrong, you know it's wrong, but you're not sure why, you know, or what it is you need to do to get it right. So once you've got it right and someone else can point that out, right, that was correct. Oh, yeah. Okay, so I'm supposed to do that. And then you can kind of gauge it, because you just don't know what it is you're doing wrong sometimes.
That's the biggest question in jiu-jitsu, isn't it? Coach, am I doing this right? Come and have a look. You know, that's the biggest. Everyone, I asked that, is this, like, if I train with Pedro, Ped, is this okay? And he's like, yeah, man, that's cool. And that's all you need sometimes, isn't it? Yeah, that's cool. And if it's wrong, then the coach will go, not quite, then have a look at this again. Try and do this little detail here, you know? Because sometimes jiu-jitsu is like, it is a lot of feel in jiu-jitsu, you know? Like we talked about earlier on, nothing's like jiu-jitsu no matter what exercise you do, because it's just that like sensation of obviously feeling and knowing your body and knowing someone else's body as well. And it could just be a simple grip change that could change the dynamics of everything, you know? So I think it's like that type of coaching as well, you know, where like when they ask that question, is this okay? Sometimes you've just got to move the grip and say, no, put it here. Is that better? Yeah, that's cool. Now you're good to go, you know?
I find
it's something we all have, isn't it? It's something we all have, that bit where it's like you kind of stall in a place and you're like, I don't know what's wrong here, but something's wrong. And then like, so you go, oh, move that to the, yes, now it feels better.
Yeah, it's the same. I find the same with like kind of movements as well. Like when someone doesn't get the movement quite right, sometimes it's best to let them do it, keep doing it until they can feel something change, because sometimes it takes repetition, where it does for my brain as well. Sometimes it just takes a bit of repetition to be able to feel what I'm doing, because you know it's wrong. I know I'm not quite getting it right, but then if I keep doing it, I'm like, it's starting to make a bit more sense in my head now. Like a bit of mind kind of body connection, and there's kind of nothing that quite emulates that in jiu-jitsu apart from doing the movement.
Yeah, the one thing I got stuck on was like training is the judo steps to get inside for the throw. You know, when you're cross stepping and stuff. Like I really struggled with that. But like you said, like you're doing it, and like the coach who coaches you used to coach you for the judo, Stephen Abley. He was in the Welsh squad, like a fantastic judo player, really good jiu-jitsu black belt as well, really, really good guy. And he was the same, like he would just say, just keep doing it. And then all of a sudden then you find a flow of it, you're like, I got it now. And then you don't forget it then, you know what I mean? It's just kind of ingrained into you. But I think that takes a bit of patience. I'm not like a massive fan of like overly drilling things, if I'm honest with you. Like I'd rather like do it with a bit of resistance.
Okay, yeah.
Like some sort of resistance involved, because then you kind of, what you've got to do with your techniques, if you've got to try and transfer it into a fight as well, you know? So if you're drilling a technique on a static body, then you've got to get that into the fight.
Yeah.
But if you're if you're halfway there and you felt the resistance, then the fight is only the same as what you've been drilling, but just amplified, you know?
Yeah.
So I always say to the guys, like, don't spar, but give a little bit of resistance, in not like resistance as in being like an ironing board, you know, but if it doesn't feel right, don't go over. If the sweep doesn't feel good, don't let them sweep you. But if it feels good, allow them, you're not doing no one a favor. Yeah. And if the sweep feels good, then allow them to sweep you, because the technique's good, you know? So I think like that way as well, the progression I've seen once I started to adopt that way of teaching, the progression I've seen in a lot of the lower belts, so like the white and blue belts, it just shot up, because they was feeling the technique a lot sooner, but then also then they could adapt it into a sparring session or a fight a lot quicker as well. So it kind of transferred really nice.
Stops people being lazy as well, right? Like, because sometimes people just go through the motions doing it, and it's like you see all the time. Like, we're doing this, you know, they're talking to each other. Like, is that right? Like, yeah, that's right. You know, like.
Oh, my classes are quite intense, to be honest. Not in a like it's hard to put it in terms, you know. The atmosphere is not like it's not intense. But it's kind of like, let's go. And it keeps going. It just keeps going. Yeah. So from the moment you come into the academy to the time you leave, you don't even know how long you've been here. Do you know what I mean? That's the feeling you get, because you've just constantly been going. And then all of a sudden, then you're like, oh my God, it's over. You know, it's nothing like I've been in classes, you know, other people's classes, and you're clock watching and thinking, oh my God, let's just spar. Can we spar? You know, just looking and thinking, oh, I just want to spar, you know. But if you keep if you've got the intensity in the drilling and the technical part of it, and then it's transferred into sparring, it kind of flows for me a lot better than just doing block, you know. It is much better. So that's where positional sparring comes into it quite a lot, and stuff like that. And I'm not massive on like the shrimping and stuff like that, to be honest. Like, I'm not huge on that.
What would be your kind of typical warm up for jiu-jitsu class then?
So say for instance, I get, we got a class of 30 guys on a Monday. We come in on a Wednesday then, and we'll live drill the technique that we done on the Monday. So say we, say we was doing arm bars to triangle transition. We'll come in, they'll partner up, and they'll just do that arm bar and triangle transition for 5 minutes each as a warm up. And then we'll do like one of the biggest drills that we do is the passing and retaining drill from guard. So one guy on the bottom, one guy on top. We do a lot of that as well. And then we allow them to use their hands and no hands till they get a feeling of passing guard and stuff like that. And then the technique. So the technique, it flows straight into the technique then. So if I was doing arm bars, triangles, then maybe I'll do arm bar to omoplata, something like that. So they've already drilled the arm lock transition. Then we'll just go into the omoplata position. And then you go into live sparring or positional sparring then. So the positional sparring could be you're trying to stop him getting to the diamond position in the triangle, not actually finishing it, because it's obviously quite difficult, but just get the diamond position, because that's your base, and then switch top and bottom, and then normal sparring then.
Yeah. There must be a place though for the shrimps and those kind of technical movements, especially maybe not so much in kind of people who've been doing it for a little while, but definitely for beginners. So
we got a beginners course here, and they do the shrimp and stuff, because like the transition from say a rugby player or into football to try and do jiu-jitsu, where like, you know, football is quite stop, start. Rugby's all about stop, start, but then also a lot of power movement involved, you know what I mean? A lot of velocity and hitting and stuff. But then coming to jiu-jitsu, where you've got to be quite fluid and not so much flexible, but you've got to be willing to be bent in places where you haven't been bent before, you know. So I think like the stretching, the shrimps, and all these like you know, animal movements really are really, really important, I think, for those guys to get a bit of a base and an understanding of what jiu-jitsu is. Then obviously once they get a base and they start to pick techniques up, then I think it's really important then to kind of drill the techniques itself.
Well, Laurie does. We do like we sort of changed our classes slightly. So on first half of a Monday night now is kind of white belts up to 3-stripe kind of level. So, and there's, you know, often between like 25 and 35 of them there. But a lot of that first kind of portion is you know, like, some shrimping and some forward hip slides and stuff like that. Because, you know, when someone tries to do a forward hip slide for the first time and they're like, this is impossible, you know, and then, you know, and then you're trying to show them a technique where you just need a little forward hip slide in the movement. And they're like, that's going to stop it, isn't it? From them doing it. So it's kind of like, these are some movements that you think are just a warm up, because that, you know, for ages I was just like, we do this, we just warm up doing this, and then, you know, as you get further on, you're like, oh no, actually these movements, you use them in the techniques that you're going to be doing.
I think that's part of the beginners class as well. Is kind of if you explain the movement. So say for instance you're doing a guard retention drill from, you know, side mount or whatever, you can explain that the shrimp is, this is why you shrimp, this is why you use the shrimp, you know. If you're doing the drill where you shrimp to your knees, you shrimp out, you go to your knees, you fall back, then when you're trying to get your knees from side mount this and wrestle back up to a single or whatever, this is the technique you use to get up. So if you can transfer the drills and show them some of the techniques that they can use in a sparring situation, then it becomes a little bit more adapt, you know. But then it's also important, like for especially the kids classes, is to get like a lot of animal movements in as well. You know?
Bear crawls and all that stuff.
Loads of that stuff, like crab crawls, all those. But then I'm massive on like doing like cartwheels and you know, and springs and backward rolls, flip into your feet, you know, and stuff like that. Just so, because a lot of the kids do gymnastics as well. So then, you know, but then it's also nice to get that different in kind of explosion and transition as well between the two. Because, like, especially this day and age, a lot of the kids, you know, like, some are really athletically gifted, you know, but a lot of them are brought up kind of sat on their iPads, you know.
Yeah.
So to expect them then to come in and be instantly athletic is quite naive.
Yes.
So like it's really important, I find, like for the drills for the kids. And I talked with Jamie about this. I actually wrote like a plan down of like the drills that we'll do with the kids, and especially the real small kids, like the 4 and 5 year olds as well, is to kind of transfer them into doing jiu-jitsu, because it's quite important for me anyways, and it's something that I done with my kids when they was younger, like they could do like cartwheels at like 3 and stuff like that, you know. But that I think is really important, that they can do it. Like even things like my son can like handstand walk, maybe only like 5, but he can do it. Like he can do 5, but he can do it, you know. And things like that are quite important for me, you know. And this is what I do with the kids that come to the kids class, and then the adults as well, the beginners. Like you see some of them trying, like a 17-stone rugby player trying to do a cartwheel is quite funny. But then after 6 weeks, they're performing like almost a perfect cartwheel now. In what scenario would they ever do a cartwheel? You know what I mean? So I think that's important too, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree. Like especially for kids, because they can move so well, so they should be allowed to express that movement as much as possible. So trying to get them doing as much different movements and make it hard for them, I think is perfect.
Yeah, and you know that it's kind of like, you know, that parents these days as well, they don't want to see their kids do stupid things, do they? You know what I mean? And I'm the opposite way. If my son sees a 6-foot wall and he wants to jump off there, that's up to him. You know what I mean? I don't want him to do it. I don't want him to do it. But if I keep telling him no, it's going to be a time where he's going to have to do something like that.
Yeah.
And he's not going to want to do it. That's just an example. But if you keep saying, don't do that, then when they are forced to do something or they have to do something, they're not going to be comfortable doing it.
That's
so
right.
Like I'm really like kind of big with my kids as well. Is like just let them make mistakes, constantly making mistakes, and letting them getting it wrong, letting them messing up, because then the goal is not to have a world champion at 8 years old. That's not the goal. Do you know what I mean? The goal is to have a world champion black belt at 22 years old. That is the goal for everyone. So kind of, if we can get there slowly, we will, you know what I mean? And making mistakes like that. And like I said, jumping off walls and being silly, climbing a tree, whatever it is, you've got to let them do it, because I think we're going to lose that. And then that's going to transfer into sports over time, in my opinion. And you kind of see it in jiu-jitsu quite a lot. You know, you've got the an athletic kid come in, and it's your responsibility then as a coach to say, right, in a couple of weeks' time, we're going to turn this around, you know? And you've got to, and that's obviously the drills you do and how you go about your coaching and how you identify the ones who need a little bit more help as well. And that's important, because not every kid's the same. Every kid is totally different, totally different. So, and that's the same for adults as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there are some people that just seem to pick up things really easy. You can show somebody something once and they just got it straight away. And other people, it takes weeks before they register it.
Yeah,
really, you have to balance that really well. It's quite hard. It's quite a hard task. I do struggle with it. It's very difficult.
But it's nice though, as a coach as well. Then when you're walking around and you like from the two aspects for me, I'm walking around and I don't have to say anything. Sometimes he's like, oh, they got it. That's cool. I'm walking around and I will not say anything. I'll just walk around. I won't even ask if anyone needs help, because what's the point? You know, it's like, I'm going to let them get on with it. They're doing it. They're figuring it out. That's cool.
Yeah.
Then the other side of it then as well, it's really good when you see someone struggling and then all of a sudden 5 minutes later, they're killing it, you know? So like, this is what I'm saying sometimes about reading the room as well. Like, you look at someone and you think, oh, that could be better, but fuck it, you know, it's okay. It's okay. Yeah. They're going to drill it until it is perfect. And then 10 minutes later, you walk around and they're absolutely killing it.
Yeah, because
you could have solved that like in 2 minutes yourself. You could have went over and just said, "Oh, do this."
Yeah,
they're not learning.
That's right.
The mechanics of it, they're not learning. It's just you feeding them what they want, like bottle feeding them, I call it.
Do
And
you
I just say
find,
to
do
them,
you find sometimes you can kind of overcoach stuff as well? Like you try and make, because you're trying to get them to do it too right, you'll go, oh, just do this. And then they're trying to do that and they're making it worse rather than making it any better.
I try and stay away from it completely with stuff like that, because it doesn't help them long term.
No.
It's frustrating as well as a coach, but you've just got to say, look, you know, you've got to just say, look, it's all right, don't worry about it. And it takes time, but now I'm at the point where I don't care, you know. It's like, not as I don't care as a coach, but that part of me is gone, because I'm quite like OCD with a lot of things in jiu-jitsu like that. And it took a long time because I would be biting my tongue. But then I was looking at it and thinking, if I keep bottle feeding the guys and keep telling them, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, then all of a sudden then they kind of just like, Greg, what am I doing wrong? And then you're like, do this. Oh, okay, I got it. But over time then it flips. Over time it kind of flips. They'll end up working it out for themselves. And then that leaves that leaves you a lot more time as a coach to actually focus on the guys who need more help.
Yeah.
To actually focus on the individuals who are really, really, really struggling, because everyone else then is killing it. Everyone else have got it.
You got to give them a chance.
That's right.
Haven't you? Rather than correcting something immediately, you got to give them a chance to. I guess maybe that's something as well, like in how long you allow people to do that. Because, like again, like going back to these early basic classes, they do far less and they spend a lot more time doing it. So I think there's more of that ethos in that. Like. They're going to make mistakes the whole time, but don't, like you say, don't go around correcting everyone immediately. Otherwise, and if you even that, if you go, can I need any help with anything? They're going to definitely have something to say.
Yeah.
Like, because they're like, oh, he's expecting me to ask him something because I must be doing something wrong, you know. So, like you say, keep quiet and let them keep doing it. I think that makes a lot of sense to me, because you've got to work it yourself. You've got to think about it, and you've got to keep putting the reps in to make sure you get it right.
Because like as well, when you were fighting, like your influence as a coach, I find is non-existent when guys are competing, because you're not, you can tell. Like I coach on the side, and I'm I say a little, because there's no point. Yeah. Like you see some guys are like, move, run, fight, get away, grip. And you're like, fucking hell, like just stop. Like you haven't got a joystick, you know what I mean? You can't do nothing about it. You just gotta let them get on with it, you know. But and if you coach like that in the academy, then you will coach like that when guys are fighting. You'll feel like you've got to do everything for them to give them the best chance, you know. Yeah. But if you give them a broad outline and then say, right, this is what I'm looking for, the transfer into the fight is much, much easier. So then your coaching then becomes very, very limited, because they know what they got to do. They can feel it. All you can say sometimes is like, look, move. You know, the worst thing in the world is when you see someone stuck in a mountain, they just like, get up. Like, fucking hell, come on, I am trying. You know what I mean? But if you can give them triggers, like for kids, like it's massive. I give them little triggers. You know, if like say like frame and move. So when they're stuck in mount, they try and frame and move, frame and shrimp and stuff like that. So little triggers, look, just try and frame and shrimp, Like little triggers like that help a lot. But some of the stuff you hear is, oh my God.
Mate, you got like a competition bingo, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's you know, they are, and to be honest with you, it's not a knock on these guys. They are trying their best. They just want their guys to do the best they can, you know. So it's not a knock on them, but I find sometimes it's more of a hindrance than a help, you know.
You can actually see people turning around and looking like to the coaches. Like,
it could be anyone shouting.
I love the overly enthusiastic guys. Like, you know, I love those ones. They're good. They're good comedy gold. They are. You know?
It's almost impossible to coach too easily from the sidelines these days, because I mean, things have changed a lot since, you know, 10 years ago when I did competitions. There's probably about 20 people around the mat, so you could just go, you could just walk.
The referee was coaching it, man.
They were paying attention. But now it's like all sectioned off. Like you have to stay behind the barriers, even the coaches, and it kind of just, you know, it makes it a lot easier for the competition to run a bit smoother. But it's almost impossible to, otherwise you're just screaming, and then that just gets lost within.
For the kids is worse for the kids, you know. For an adult, you can, you know, if you're quite sure of yourself, you can just say, fucking shut up, I know what I'm doing, you know what I mean? But a kid, they're kind of insecure when they start to fight. And that you get confident kids, but they're really sheepish when you see kids go on the mat. You get the real confident ones who are cool with it. But then some just need that, like, you're okay, don't worry about it, you're fine. Keep fighting, keep fighting, keep fighting. And then after the fight then is really important, like the kind of congratulate them on how well they done, regardless if they win or lose.
Yes.
Because I've seen some horrific things I've seen parents like filming their kids and they're having a real tough time, and then they'll just turn the camera off and walk away, and you're like, do you know what I mean? What the hell?
20% of the kids after they fought are going to be crying. Like
yeah.
Like that's and I was the same when we went to the English. There was some. You get it everywhere, don't you? Right, and sometimes you're going to have to say to parents at the just at the gym, like, stop shouting at your kid, like do this, that, and the other, and then you think you don't even train, and you're yelling at your kid about something you've got no idea about.
That's where most of my beginners come from, as a parents. I hand them a gi and I say, there we go, come and train Wednesdays, 6:30. Well, they turn up. Yeah. Awesome. My parents are awesome, though. I gotta be honest, they're really really cool. I got no one parent that I've ever had to say like stop. I think, but like I said, it's about having that conversation when you first start, and you know, knowing the kid, knowing the parent, and helping them out that way, you know.
Yeah.
But my parents are cool. But like I said, I've seen some horrific things over the years, especially when you're referee and you notice everything. You see everything. So you're looking and you're hearing things, and you're like, oh my word, you know.
Yeah.
All the kid wants sometimes is like, I don't care if you lost 20-0, doesn't bother me. Well done. Because as a 6, 7, 8-year-old, 10-year-old, whatever it is, to step on a jiu-jitsu mat in front of like 100 people and fight another kid is massive. Like, it's huge. I don't think I would have done it when I was 10 years old. I gotta be honest.
No, it's tough enough doing it as an adult.
Yeah.
Those kids, I can't imagine, you know, and like the ones where their parents are being like that, you know, and you see it at the competitions, and you think, well, that kid's he's not gonna be doing jiu-jitsu in 5-10 years time.
Yeah.
That is not an enjoyable experience. It's not going to give you, you know, the platform to do stuff.
And this is what I said earlier on. Like, my goal is not to have a world champion at 8 years old, because when they get 16 is kind of the test of when they want to stick to jiu-jitsu or not. You know, they're allowed to go out, they're allowed to drink, they're allowed to do what they want to do, spend time with their friends, whatever. So when they get to 16, if they're still there, then you were like, oh, okay, cool. But like to kind of push these kids at this age now, I find it a little bit, you know, you could be wasting your time. You could, sometimes you can't. I've seen some amazing kids, you know, and it's been worth it. It's been obviously worth the push that the parents have given.
Yeah.
But the majority of them, they're not going to be there when they're 16, you know, so just why not? You want them to look back on their jiu-jitsu, and this is adults as well. The ones who you want them to look back and think, "Oh, that was cool. I really enjoyed that." And then maybe they'll come back into it in the future. But if they look back and they say, "Fucking hell, I hated every second of that," they're never going to come back. You know, they're never going to come back into jiu-jitsu or any kind of competitive sport, maybe.
Yeah, I think so. You want them to have a good experience and look back on that as that was really fun. Like I really enjoyed my time there, rather than. That was really hard. And
I quit because I wanted to, not because I was forced to. Yeah. You know, I quit because I just didn't want to do it no more, and that's fine. You know, how many things have, you know, obviously you taken up in the past, and you know, you could go and do darts next week and play it for 2 months, and I think, well, no, I didn't enjoy that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. And kids are the same, isn't they? They see other things that they want to do, you know, and as long as they look back and say, I enjoyed that, and I quit just because I didn't want to do it no more, not because my parent was a dick on the side of the mats, you know what I mean?
Yeah. How did you find, because you obviously competed, how have you found that transition from being competitor to coach? Because were you coaching at the same time as competing?
Yeah. I've always coached and competed. The last couple of years has been difficult because of moving into the new academy, a young family. I still work full time, and I still run the academy full time. So it's been more difficult. So I took a bit more of a step back in that role as like competitive, just to kind of focus on my time on coaching a lot more as well, and being fresh when I'm coaching. I find it important as well, because when you take your own training in your own hands, you're kind of tired a lot, and you come in and you just do the things that you got to do. You know what I mean? You're like, right, let's just get it done because I want to train myself.
Yeah.
I still spar all classes. I still train. I still lift weights in the morning. I still keep myself like fit, and I am going to compete. I was going to compete this year, but I don't know what's going to happen with that, you know. But I'm kind of enjoying the transition into like being a Polaris court referee and you know, being around these events and stuff. So I'm enjoying that transition. I'm really enjoying like coaching the guys and being able to help those. So it hasn't been a transition where I thought, fuck, like, what am I doing? You know, and I'm not looking back and thinking I'm dying to compete again, if you know what I mean. It's in the back of my mind. Obviously, I always want to do something, and I want to lead by example as well. You know, and it's not like I'm never not afraid to compete. It's just the time to prepare to compete. You know what I mean? That's the issue. Because once I start to be like, I'm not going to be able to compete in a general event like a lot of the blue belts and purple belts. It's going to have to be like Euros where I get a good couple of fights, or maybe like another Polaris fight or something like that, you know?
Yeah. So you had something booked this year, but obviously, so has that been moved or postponed, or are you?
I was gonna. It was like being a transition into like obviously refereeing on Polaris. I was gonna fight Polaris again this year, but I'm really enjoying the referee aspect of it as well, you know. But I was gonna go like, you know, try and aim for like a big tournament somewhere, you know. I was gonna just kind of get in good shape and then go for one of the IBJJF tournaments or something, just to feel it out, because you know, I want to compete again, definitely, 100%. And obviously then once you compete, your guys come with you as well, don't you? So you can enjoy it as well. So that'll be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, really cool. I really love the Polaris events. They're brilliant.
They're awesome. Yeah, the guys are doing a great job. They're doing a really good job. And I'm lining them up for I've got them sorted for like a History of Polaris podcast as well.
That would be great.
Because like they're two like opposing companies in terms of like Scramble and Tatami coming together to form like this massive event is kind of unheard of in this day and age. You know what I mean? You don't get two companies who are British companies who are selling the same products to the same people to come together and make this event. Is crazy, you know? So yeah, that'll be really good as well. Yeah.
I think that'd be brilliant.
I love the Polaris. So I don't have to come down to the one that in Wales. Been to the O2 a couple of times to see Polaris. It's always a good show, and it's always super fun. And they get like the biggest names around.
Yeah.
It's not just this is in England or Wales. This is just small. It's like the biggest, you know, people going.
And not just that as well. Like they kind of they promote like British Jiu Jitsu as well. The guys who have come through, like Fionn and Ross, and like Freddie, like you guys obviously know Freddie as well, Vosgrove. Like he's been given a chance on like the prelims, and he's worked his way up to being in the main card, you know, which is brilliant. Ross Nichols, the same. He's worked his way up and he's on main card. Not just that, then he's getting like asked to fight on all these big events over in America and stuff. And Fionn's the same. So all these guys are going to come through, and then you got like
big platform for you know, like your Nicky Rods and guys like this come over from the States and stuff for it. I'm sure they have a nice time and muck it in with seminars and whatnot. But like, you know, they're there to put on a show. Every single one of them when they come along, it's like, I want to, because they're all trying to get the next thing, aren't they? Get a fight on fight to win or whatever. You know, like there's stages and levels to that game, and you've got to Polaris is a big deal.
I think Polaris is like, we're like quite fortunate, you know. We got Grapple Fest as well, which is in the UK as well, and they get like a lot of big names over. And Polaris, I think these two are like, for me, not just because they're British and we need to support them. For me, they're probably the biggest at the moment for me. You know, it was Metamoris, wasn't it, where they was getting all the big names in and stuff like that, but I don't know what happened there. They robbed everyone, didn't they? They robbed everyone's money. But then I think Polaris and Grapple Fest for me is huge. It's massive. It's because the names they get on, you know what I mean? Like in America, like a lot of the main card is like a Polaris prelims, in my opinion. You get one or two big fights, but the Polaris main card is always huge. It's like big fights, you know.
Yeah.
It's massive. Like we had Trujillo fighting Gi again for the first time in years.
It's great.
Do you know what I mean? It's crazy. It was Shaolin. We had, you know, Terry was on there, and Tellez has fought on there. It's all these guys have come over. You know, Keenan's come over to fight on there.
Yeah, it's unreal, isn't it?
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, Gary Tonin and Dylan Dennis and you know, Dylan, but like Gary's
Tonin and Trujillo as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like the biggest, like the, you know, and Uriah Faber and
Luke Rockhold.
Uriah Faber come over, Rockhold. It's crazy, you know. And like, if it wasn't for Polaris, like, I've been really lucky that I can watch a lot of these fights live there in the event as well. Yeah. So I've only missed, I think, 2 Polaris events, I think, like, so it's brilliant for us as fans as well to watch it. But not only that, we can go and watch it live as well.
Yeah. How do you feel about the reffing jobs? Do you enjoy doing the reffing thing?
Yeah, I do, to be honest. Yeah, I do. It keeps you sharp as well. Like IBJJF rules, it keeps you sharp. You've got to be up on it, and then obviously you can transition that into helping your students as well, which is, I find it important, because if I didn't referee, I'm not going to sit down, to be honest, and read the full rule book. But you know, I know many people's going to do that, are they? But because you're refereeing, you need to kind of be a little bit more sharp on it. So you do flutter through it and make sure that you know what you're doing. And then if anyone's got a question on a tournament, or you know, about points and stuff like this, or how would you score this? Is that a score? Is that not a score? It kind of makes a lot more sense if you're refereeing. And then with the Polaris, I just enjoy it, you know, really, I do enjoy it. Yeah, it's really cool. It's a good event. It's run really, really professional. And, you know, I don't do it because I kind of want a name for doing it. I do it purely because I enjoy doing it. You know what I mean? I really enjoy doing it. So, and it's a good crack with the boys as well, you know. It's nice to see everyone, and you get to speak to all these like guys who's been around the block and ask them a couple of questions, you know. Is good. Yeah.
So yeah, that's awesome. So when you developed your coaching style, I know this is completely changing.
No, that's fine.
But when you developed your coaching style, did you take bits and pieces from the guys that you kind of train with, or was it something that you picked up along the way, like experience-wise, or Pedro Bessa when you were training?
Yeah. So Pedro's got like I beg, steal, and borrow. That's my thing. Like beg, steal, borrow. You know, beg someone to help you out, steal their ideas, or borrow the ideas from them. You know, because I haven't got the answers to everything. That's the same as like the pro guys haven't got the answers to everything. They haven't, like the Galvaos and that, they've developed it over time and they've seen ideas. So for me, it's one of those. But Pedro's style of teaching is like super relaxed. So that aspect of it. But when it comes to like business, when it comes to like the crunch, Pedro's like super intense. Like the guy is phenomenal. Like honestly, no joke. Yeah. The guy is absolutely phenomenal. Not just that, but a coach. He's one of those coaches as well that like can make you look like a dick. You know, you're like, Ped, what am I doing here? And he's just like, man, fucking do this. And you're like, oh, you know, he's one of those. But it's so natural to him to be a coach because he's done it for so long. It's just super natural to him. Yeah. You know, and not just that, then he actually, like, he can back it up as well. You know, he's one of those guys, like, if you're doing triangles, and he's doing a different type of triangle. Like Pedro's triangles are horrendous. Like they're horrendous. Like he's tapped out Monstro with a triangle, and Pedro's like lightweight. And and the story behind that was, right, Pedro put up like 250 quid for like a black belt tournament for the Bristol Open, and because he didn't want to pay anyone the 250 quid, he entered himself in. He's like, man, no way, no one's weighing my 250 quid, man. So he ran the event. He was up all night doing the event and all the brackets and everything. He ran the event on the day and then fought and won his own 250 quid. But that. If there's any way to explain Pedro, that's it. That's it. He done the same. He done the same in Ireland as well. We went out to Ireland to help with the Irish Open, and Pedro helped. It might have been the Cork Open at the time. It was like Cork, yeah. And Pedro's refereeing, running the event, and one of the black belts didn't turn up to fight. So Pedro's like, "Oh, give me a gi, I'll fight." And everyone's like, "What?" So I was like, "Yeah, just give me a gi, I'll fight." And Pedro fought because everyone come to watch a black belt fight.
Yeah,
And
wow.
it was the only black belt fight on the day as well. So Pedro's like, no, fuck it, man, I'll fight.
That's awesome. That's so
And that's
cool.
just the way he is. So I've adopted a lot of that attitude as well from the way you train, you know, and how you carry yourself as well. You know, like you've got a responsibility as a coach to carry yourself in the correct way. And I think Pedro is one of those ones who does that. You know, he's that guy.
That worked well for him being like that, because he was probably, you know, certainly down there, like he's the first down in that area, right? So he's come along and you've got to like do what you've got to lead by example, like you're saying.
Yeah. So the story about Pedro coming along, it was like, yeah, Carlos Limos was in Bristol to start with, and Carlos was a Gracie Barra black belt, and he was in Bristol to start with. And this is another, like, the way I respect Pedro as well, like as a person, because Pedro come to Bristol because he was in university doing a degree in economics, I think it was, something like that. And Pedro put on the Bristol Open, like the very, very first Bristol Open. And
I was there.
The very first one.
Maybe the very first one, but I think, was I 2007 or 2008 I went to Bristol?
Yeah, so the first one I think was 2000.
It was the very best white t-shirt. That's
in, yeah. So he done, and he come into, I was training with Carlos Limos at the time, and I didn't obviously know who Pedro was, and then in time I kind of, like I said earlier on, I ended up training with him. And he walked into the class that we was training in, and he just started handing out flyers to everyone. Like, and he was like, hey, you guys want to come to my event? You guys, not in a way, like a nasty way. He went to meet Carlos, he shook his hand, and he said, how are you guys, whatever, is it okay if I hand these flyers out? And Carlos was like, yeah, that's cool, hand them out, and I'll get guys to compete. But then going on, when I started training with Pedro then a little bit more, there was not a bit of beef, but it was like there's only room for one black belt in kind of Bristol. Yeah. So Carlos Limos was this 2-time world champion, and Pedro Berto was like a 22-year-old fresh black belt. Just got his black belt, and they had the old Gracie Invitational up in London, and they used to do like super fights up there.
That was like that's Senny.
Yeah. I think, no, I'm not sure where it was, but it might have been like the XL or something like that, if I remember. I'm not 100% sure.
They did like seminars in there as well.
That's it. Yeah, it was the Gracie Invitational. Yeah, and Pedro ended up fighting Carlos and beating him, and he beat him. You know, and from then on, I was like, fuck, man, this is just no care in the world type of character. Fight anyone, anytime, but not just that. He's like super legit as well. You know, he's and at the time, Pedro was like 22, 23, fresh black belt, just come over to the UK, and you know, he was and the guys watching Carlos, it was like Braulio, Hodger, and these guys were all watching on the sidelines, you know, and then Pedro was just on his own. It was just Pedro. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen, you know, because you could just see the fear when Pedro started racking points. You could see the fear in everyone's eyes, thinking, "Man, he's gonna win. He's gonna win." That's what, yeah. It was crazy.
Pedro's.
It was crazy, and then from then, obviously, that's when he had my respect, you know, like. I know my respect probably doesn't mean a whole lot, but for me, you know, as a person, to respect someone for doing shit like that, is and you know, and to do it in that sort of manner, like a carefree manner, with no intensity, no malice behind it, is incredible. Like he's a top guy, like top guy.
Cool, that's so cool.
That is cool. Yeah. I remember driving down to Bristol for that and driving all the way back.
Is that when you broke your finger?
No, that was in the Welsh Open.
Was it?
Yeah.
You drove all the way down there, broke your finger, and come back.
Yeah. Cheers, Wales. Thanks, Wales.
These Welsh boys, man, they don't know what they're doing, do they?
Snapping fingers.
So what's the future looking like for your club at the moment? Do you have any kind of plans put in place for when this coronavirus starts?
Yeah, I've started planning, obviously, but you know, I think like a lot of the guys around here have been really, really sensible. They've isolated. They haven't been out. They're not being silly. So if I'm totally honest with you, if I wanted to train today, I could, and I could be comfortable training if I wanted to. The only issue at the moment, like everyone's gym at the moment, is that kind of what ifs behind it. You know, if you start training now, everyone's just going to slate you, and they're going to like, oh my God, he's training, you know. But the reality of it is, I think it goes past like the business side of it, you know, that if you're going to lose the club or whatever, it goes past that. And I think everyone's kind of well-being is more important, in my opinion. You know, it's like a lot of guys rely on jiu-jitsu because they enjoy it and they need that outlet, you know, and at the moment they're not getting that outlet. So for me, I'm quite fortunate because, like I said, I'm enjoying the rest, but now I'm kind of want to get back to doing jiu-jitsu. But I'm mentally sound, you know, I'm okay. A lot of guys are not. They're doing jiu-jitsu because they need to do jiu-jitsu, you know, and I think that's important. So it goes past the business side of it for me, and it's more, I'm more worried about what people are going to be like, you know, in a couple more weeks. We're trundling on into like week 9 now, and it's not good. It's not good for a lot of guys, you know.
No, I mean, in America, they're starting to. I think a lot of people are starting to reopen their gyms and stuff now. I think against the law, like in some states it is. I know I saw Gary Tonon's gym got closed down, didn't it?
Yeah, I think it was something to do with like he was subletting something, and the landlord went bankrupt or something like that.
Right.
So obviously he then lost his academy, which is not good at all. Like, but like I said, I'm quite fortunate that I don't rely on the academy as my full-time job. So I'm really, really fortunate, like that, where I'm allowed to maintain the money to keep the academy going without taking anything out. So I'm kind of lucky in that respect. The only thing that I am disappointed about is I can't pay wages for the guys who was like Jamie and I was coaching for me and helping out with classes. I'm really like devastated about that side of it. You know, but like a lot of these guys have said, it's cool because when we get back, we still got a gym, you know, which is the important side of it as well. So, you know, but like, I just think it's important for everyone's well-being now that they start to consider sorting something out. Even if it's like bubble training, you know, like if I got 4 guys, I stick to those 4 guys for a month. And if one of those guys are ill, then none of us can train. I'm cool with that. The academy, we got a big floor space in the academy, like separate into like 9 different areas, you know.
Oh, wow.
It is, you know, it is what it is. So I've kind of planned for when they give us the go ahead, we can just go for it, you know.
Hopefully it won't be too long.
I don't know about like all the testing stuff and all this. Like I'm an all or nothing guy. I hate having like restrictions and stuff. Like you can train, but you got to do A, B, and C. I'd rather not train at all. You know, I'm one of those. I'm either going to train or I'm not. So like when they do give me the go ahead to train, I probably won't open up as like full time as I was before for a couple of months maybe. But the guys who've continued paying their monthly fees, which I really appreciate, those guys are going to be able to come in and train as soon as they say, let's go, we're going to go.
Yeah, you rely on those guys. They must have the same attitude, you know.
I like when all this started, I kind of said to my wife, I was like, right, let's get an email out and just tell everyone we're going to like freeze everyone's direct debits unless they instruct us not to. So I put the email out there and everyone come back and said, don't freeze them, keep them going. So like, we're really fortunate we got that kind of support. And I know a lot of other jiu-jitsu academies are in the same boat. And it's quite refreshing to see as well, that kind of support, because in this day and age, it's like, if I'm not getting anything, I'm not paying for it. This is like a lot of the culture at this moment is like, if I'm not getting a service, then fuck you, I'm not paying, you know. Even my local gym, I'll still pay my local gym, even though I'm not going to there, because I want a gym to go back to when I want to lift weights again. I think it's super important. Like, unless they say we're going to freeze it, then obviously I'm going to be cool with that. But if there's a way that I can still pay it, I'll pay it. Because like these businesses like around with us, especially in Wales, like we've got like a lot of, in Abbotsford area where we live, there's a lot of family run small businesses, veg shop, fruit and veg shops, butchers and stuff like that, and pet shops. And you know, if one of those go, it's not just that, it's like, you know, the kids that these families kind of support as well, everything's gone, you know. So I think everyone needs to, this is a refreshing thing that I've seen about all this kind of corona thing, is everyone's coming together and being a bit more supportive than they was before, you know. A bit
more of a community, like people are seeing looking at the big picture rather than just their own kind of well-being at the moment.
Exactly. And I think then people like are putting a bit more of a plan in place for when all this is over, is to continue supporting these small businesses and stuff as well, you know. I think that's like super important.
Definitely.
Because I'm guilty of it, the same as everyone else. You know, we pop the Tesco's and get a bunch of bananas or whatever from there, when I could just go up the road and get them from the fruit and veg guy. Like, I'll continue to do that when this is all over, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Because these guys have worked through all the kind of pandemic thing, and they've continued to supply us, you know, with goods, you know. So I think it's important, that kind of thing as well.
Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Well, I think we've probably been chatting for quite a while now. It's been about an hour and a half. So
That's good.
we'll call it there. But thanks so much for coming on. It's been absolutely
anytime.
pleasure.
Yeah,
It's
thanks,
been a real
Greg.
good chat, like real good. So we'll definitely maybe catch up again at some point in the future. Have another chat.
Thanks for having me on as well, guys, and well done for doing this, because obviously you guys are doing a great job getting some guys on and expressing their jiu-jitsu through this kind of format, which is good.
Yeah, thanks, man.
No worries.
We come down and try and see if we can get down and do one of your classes as well.
100%.
Just make sure you can do a cartwheel, yeah?
Start walking on your hands, mate.
I need to lose some weight. My wrist can't take it.
Is there anyone you want to do some shout outs to? Any sponsors or anything that you want to mention?
Yeah, Tatami Fightwear is my only sponsor that I've ever had. They supported me from day one, and just all the guys from the academy. Obviously, that it's tough times at the moment for everyone, so just hang in there. And thanks to all the guys for the support. And you know, that's it really from me. You know, it's nice to have the support from all the guys more than anything. And you know, guys like Tatami as well, they support in a lot of like the younger guys through jiu-jitsu as well, which is awesome.
That is awesome. Great. Awesome. Thanks so much, Greg.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Push.